What's going on, people? Your boy Travis, Horror Movies Uncut, Submissions and Slashers, and I am joined with some local talent because I always get some stuff from people who are always like, Travis, you never talk or showcase anyone from the city that you're in. Well, guess what? We got the studio, we here, we doing our thing in the Vivid Core lifestyle right now. So all I want to know from you guys is, do you know this lady right here? This is Jackie Kelly. Jackie, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
And Jackie is in a couple. Let me rephrase this. If you were to go on her IMDB page right now, she's probably in like 13 upcoming projects.
There's a few on there. Yeah.
But a couple of the projects that we're going to talk about today are films like Anxiety, which is a new film that you guys are in the works of putting out with you and Eric Stanze right now. So we're going to talk about that film, but more than anything, we're going to talk about you. And we're going to get this audience to kind of know you a little bit more.
Okay.
So the first thing that I really would want to know is just kind of a general question is like and I honestly, so Cortez and them know that I like, for some unknown reason, I will spit stuff out about money because, you know, we're broke and and you know how much it costs to fund a film.
Oh, yeah.
So we need money, too. Right? We need money. So my first question for you is, instead of being like, oh, hey, what was your first acting role? What was it? No, what was your first paid acting
My
gig?
first paid
Do you remember
acting
that
gig? Oh my God. It was probably a pilot for a series that never came to fruition that we shot in 2016.
Okay. And how long were you in the world of acting before? Like, how many years?
Well, I'd been acting since I was like 12 years old. I started out in like community theater and school theater and whatnot. And then I went to film school. And I made some short films and acted in some short films.
Where'd you go to film school?
I went to Webster
University.
Webster.
Go Gorlocks, dog.
That's right.
Get your Gorlock. What is a Gorlock? We still don't know, but it's okay. It's okay.
So I'd been doing it for a while, but I hadn't. I started doing indie films seriously in 2015.
Okay.
But, you know, it's such a up and down journey doing that because it's like you just have to accept if you're going to do this kind of thing. Sometimes you're going to get paid for your time and sometimes you're not, and you have to be able to pick and choose what are the projects that are worth it for me to make that financial sacrifice and what ones are not.
Yep.
And I've been fortunate enough to get on a lot of really cool projects over the years, including some that have paid my bills, and so I can keep doing this.
Yeah, yeah. What type of resolve does it take to stay in this industry as long as you have, but not really always go after some like lucrative part or lucrative role? Like
insanity.
I was like, let's just be honest.
Insanity.
She's crazy, y'all.
I mean,
let's just be honest.
I'm crazy.
I crazy Jackie.
Don't know what else I would do. It's the only thing I've wanted to do with my life since I was like 14 or 15 years old. So I have to take all kinds of odd jobs as a performer to pay the bills, and then the indie films, and it's truly an act of insanity, though.
I feel like with filmmakers, because you hit all hats. You're a filmmaker, producer, writer, actress. You do it all, because I feel like when you're in indie world, we kind of have to wear all those hats, right?
Absolutely.
So support is usually something we either have tons of or everybody is constantly like, Jackie, when you gonna go get another job? What kind of support did you have from like family and loved ones on your passions and pursuing of your career?
My folks and my brother have always been quite supportive of what I do. So
they have the acting bug too?
Not at all. My parents both worked in the trades. My dad was a mechanic and my mom was a barber. So there's no art making in our family history.
That's blue collar.
Which is weird because my brother's a cinematographer too. So somehow we both managed to end up in the world of film.
Well, there is a lot of cars and a lot of hair in film.
That's right. That's very true.
So there is possibility that there may have been a little something sprinkled onto you guys.
Maybe that's what it is. Maybe that's what it is.
Well, that's great.
But yeah, I've been very fortunate to have supportive family and a core group of collaborators that are very supportive. Takes a long time to like really find your people in indie film. But after a lot of trial and error, I feel like I've got a handful of core groups that I work with regularly, and they're just my ride or dies.
Yes.
And
I was going to ask you about that because that's one of the things that I notice when I go on your pages and I see like other casts and like I see like common names repeating like Jason or Felissa Rose and people like that I'm like, okay, she's definitely found her little niches and groups of people. What do you think are some of the upsides of that? But then what are some of the downsides of having like certain groups that you consistently work with?
Well, the downside.
We're going to go to the negative stuff first.
We were just talking about this recently. When you work with the same people over and over again, it just becomes a game of like handing the same $1,000 back and forth to each other over and over again.
Yeah.
Because you want to pay your friends, of course. You know, they're your friends and they do this professionally and they're already doing it for way less than they deserve. So you got to give them something, but then you turn around and help them on their shit. And then it ends up just being like this cycle of, no, you have the money now. And then you take back the money and then you give it back. But I don't know. I've been on a lot of sets over the years where there's a whole lot of drama. There's a lot of drama in indie filmmaking because there's so many cogs in the machine and tensions run incredibly high on a film set. And so it's natural that drama would ensue. And when you find those people where you're like, they're not going to stir the pot. Yeah. These people aren't going to cause any drama. I want to keep working with them. I have fun making stuff with them. We support each other's vision. Those are the people that you want to work with.
It's the people that show up, they get the job done, and they have a good time while they're doing it too.
Right.
And I don't think people realize this. Like, they don't realize, because I always tell my mainstream audience, whenever they start bashing a film, I'm like, hey guys, you have no idea how hard sometimes it is to make these films. And at the end of the day, you guys are just kind of begging for money to get this stuff done. When you see drama, when you see what's going on, I'm curious to where you feel the climate of like independent cinema is right now. Do you think we're like in a good state with independent cinema, or is there kind of maybe some uncertainty, maybe some negativity surrounding? I mean, we've had a lot of stuff happen in cinema in general in the past 2 to 3 years. How do you feel that all of that is kind of coming down on the independent side of everything?
You know, we live in an age, and this is nothing that hasn't been said a million times before, but we live in an age where it is so incredibly accessible for anyone to make a movie.
Yes.
Which is great. It's
great
cheaper to make a movie than it's ever been before. But that also means more people are making movies.
Yes.
So there's more stuff out there that you have to compete with.
Yes.
I would like to see a shift in independent film.
Okay.
Because it's just, I feel like a lot of independent films are trying to compete with the blockbusters. And so it's a lot of people making films that are similar tonally, or the plot is similar to big films, but on no budget.
Yeah.
And I would love to see more indie filmmakers just embrace the fact that we have no money and make your own stuff.
Let me ask you this as a side. Do you think that's lazy? When they just see what the carbon copy, like
I don't think it's lazy. Okay. I think it's overly idealistic.
Oh, okay.
I think it's overly idealistic in that there's a great slasher film with 4 name actors, and you made a film that's very similar to that film, but you have no name actors and you don't have a marketing campaign. Why would people watch your movie instead of this one that already exists?
Right.
So I love working with independent filmmakers that take that leap of faith and make stuff that I'm just like, damn, I've never seen this before. This is weird, or this is dark, or
That's why you're gonna like Star Baker.
It sounds great. I mean, that scene that I overheard you talking about, I'm like, oh, you just sold me on that one. But I think there's a lot of people that I also haven't worked with yet, and I think there's a lot of people that in the future, hopefully, I can collaborate with that want to do more like bombastic, just weird stuff. Because that's the stuff that I like to do.
Violent movies for her to be
weird,
in,
violent shit, please.
Yes. So let's talk about a movie real quick that's kind of weird because of the climate of the world that it was in at the time, but it's not really too violent until it gets violent as shit, and that's Anxiety. And you sent me the film, which I appreciate. I know a lot of people have not seen it so far. I know you guys are still kind of tooling some stuff with it. Tell me about the creation. If I was to step up to you on the street and say, give me a sales pitch for Anxiety, what would it be?
Well, Anxiety is very much a time capsule of the COVID-19 lockdown, but through the lens of someone that is newly sober. So not only are they dealing with the stressors of the world collapsing in front of their eyes, but they're also dealing with the stressor of just trying to not give in to the demons inside of their head. And so she's kind of being hit from these multiple directions.
Right.
And hopefully it shines a light on the hurdles of sobriety and recovery, and creates some sort of like sensitivity surrounding that.
The film was shot during the lockdown.
Yeah.
And as you mentioned before, when we talked off camera, you and Eric were primarily doing everything for the film.
Yeah, I mean, we definitely had assistants here and there, but a lot of the film was shot just the two of us.
So then you have Jason Christ in the film, and there's parts where he's on like a Zoom. Did he do all that?
Yeah, he did all that independently. He actually never stepped a foot on our set.
Let him know that that's one of the best performances I've ever seen of him.
Everyone's been saying that. I agree.
It's great.
He is great.
It's
he
great.
Is great.
And so tell me, like, your St. Louis collective. You've been working with a lot of these people for a while. What is it outside of some of the stuff that you mentioned earlier? What is it about the Wicked Pixel group and all these people that you've worked with that allows you to say, yeah, let me get up for this project? Is it because they let you be you, or is it something else?
I mean, that's a huge part of it. I was very young when I first started making stuff with them, and they just immediately embraced me and valued my input into the projects that we were making. But I also like that the Wicked Pixel crew is just down to make weird, non-mainstream stuff.
Yeah.
So it's
always
whatever
Eric, always.
Yeah, whatever we make, even if it's not well received.
I've been a dead body on the floor of a couple Eric movies, just letting y'all know.
Done all kinds of stuff for Eric.
Just dead bodies.
You know it's going to be weird if it's something that Eric and the Wicked Pixel gang are making, and I'm always on board to make something weird, even if it's not well received. I love to work on movies where people are just like, well, I've never seen anything that reminded me of that.
Yeah.
You know?
When you did Some Visitors with Paul Hibbert, like, for me, I want to just quickly ask how it was shooting that, because it just looked like you were able to just kind of have fun.
Oh yeah.
Like you're like half naked in a football jersey running around just fucking up everything in sight.
That's
and
the
like
synopsis.
the whole entire film, I'm just sitting there like, yeah, I'm into this. Like every single moment of this. How fun was it making that short? And are you planning on possibly doing anything with him in the future?
Yeah, I mean, I had a lot of fun making that short. It was, short films are so different for making features because it's like such a fast experience. You know,
do you have a preference on either?
I mean, I get more mileage out of doing features generally, although we got a decent amount of mileage out of Some Visitors, which was great. But it was really fun. It was a quick, I think, 4 days in and out, overnight shoots, and so covered in blood. It was a lot of fun.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I only have a couple more questions for you. I appreciate you showing up to the studio. Hope you like the digs. We in here trying to do big things at Horror Movies Uncut, and you're our first in-studio guest. Wow. Yeah, let's go.
An honor.
So right now, we talked about independent cinema, and we talked about a film that has been more mainstream before we started, right, with Long Legs, okay? Just, and be as honest and transparent as you want to be, because you're allowed to be here. Tell me your thoughts on what I like to call the three-headed monster. There was a report that came on out, Hollywood Reporter, where they're saying like, hey, don't even worry about making any horror movies anymore, guys, because if you're not under Neon, A24, Bloomhouse, my nickname is the three-headed monster, King Ghidorah, then you shouldn't even be doing anything for horror. What do you think about that? I think that's probably one of the most far-fetched statements I've ever heard.
I think that's ridiculous.
Do you have any of those, like, are there any films in those three franchises that you like? Do you like A24 movies?
Yeah, I do. And I think A24 has done a lot for the genre. I like a lot of those movies quite a bit. I do think that A24 is becoming its own genre, though. You know, I think it's their brand
of
horror
Disney
films.
for like genre films.
Yeah,
like it's becoming its own world.
And I think there's a time and place for it.
Can we get an A24 amusement park sometime soon with the green giant and all types of other things?
And all kinds of mommy issues,
right? Some
and
seagulls
stuff like
and
that.
some like pigs, and there's a lot of weird creatures that we can do.
I think they've done a lot for the genre, and I'm glad that it's made people fall in love with horror again, because I think we had like a couple decade lull in horror, and it seems like people are taking horror seriously again. But I just want to remind everyone watching.
Speak your piece.
There's this there's this term I hear thrown around all the time with A24 and Neon that they're creating elevated horror films, and I just wanted to say that horror has always been elevated, and if you didn't know that, you just haven't seen the elevated ones, and I'm a little annoyed that we're acting like A24 and Neon like coined this idea of horror with depth, because it is very much a thing that has been alive and well for a long time.
Since almost the inception of horror films.
Oh, yeah.
Because you have to have depth to even get into, I mean, even the silence, Italian, French, please. You clearly, when people make statements like that, they're not cinema fans at all. You know,
you can't base a whole genre off of, 80 slashers.
Exactly. Last but not least, what's next for Jackie Kelly?
What is next for me? Oh my gosh. So I have been toiling away like a crazy person. I'm actually in the process of producing my first feature film as a director.
Okay.
So we are going to be shooting that in October.
Okay.
For like the whole month.
Can the Horror Movies Uncut crew stop up on the set and do a little behind 100%. The scenes? Let's go. Cortez, we going to go make some money somewhere.
We're gonna do it. You're absolutely invited.
Awesome.
I would love to have you there.
That'd be great.
It's just been an all-consuming process. I've helped produce stuff, but I've never been like this key of a role as producer, and it's a dizzying experience. So I've done a couple other movies this year, but that's been my main thing going on, because it's a full-time job and a half.
Awesome. Well, we look forward to hearing all the details and making sure that we put as much coverage about it as possible. Jackie,
thank you.
Thank you so much for coming in.
I appreciate it.
I really appreciate you. It's been a long time coming. I've been wanting to talk to you forever. So thank you for stopping by.
My pleasure.
To us. All right, people. Jackie Kelly, Horror Movies Uncut, Submissions and Slashers. We'll be right back